Now, introduction, the laws of spiritual success. With the help of practice explained in the following pages, on can attain within a few years as a stage of development for which mankind would need an illimitably long period spreading over a countless incarnation on the slow spiral of evolution. The science of this systematic psychological practice we call Zen Yoga. The domination aim of Zen Yoga is concentration of the mind through a better understanding of the metaphysical of brain structure. To start with, we may consider the mind as a functional system of extremely subtle vibrations called rotations, which for convenience we divide into four sections. Section 1 is the part nearest aligned to the anatomical brain, while section 4 we look upon as the nearest aligned to the soul, Atma. Between section 1, Chit, and section 4, Atma, we have section 3 governing the realm of extrasensory perception, and section 2. The latter is further subdivided so that section 2 along has the peculiarity of having two subsections, section 2a, section 2b. Subsection A of section 2 is very closely aligned to the body, or rather than brain reticulate activation system, RAS for short, system in a comb shaped maze of nerves in the brainstem. Subsection intercepts the flow of the formation coming up with our physical body before such impulse of information enter the thalamus for further distribution of the decision making regions of the cortex. It is therefore in a position of to modify or accentuate, tone up the different message impulse as it chooses. It can because it has profuse neural connection with a hypothalamus channel report our body disorders, indigestion, toothache directly to the latter without consulting the conscious mind. All unconscious physiological activities of our brain, that is digestion, breathing, falls under the domain of subsection A. Thus, we are not aware of its constant and complicated guiding of our work of digestion in our belly unless and until something goes wrong. Then we become aware of the effort involved, because we become conscious of it. The becoming conscious of it we then call a belly ache. Without subsection A, all life would be a long stomach and belly ache. Subsection second B is the part of the mind which enable us to concentrate, meditate, receive intuitions, institutions from a high. In fact, it is so utterly different from section 1 and subsection A of secondary section 2 that we are justified in saying that between section 1 plus subsection A of section 2 plus and section 4 and 3 plus B plus there is a very wide gulf. The gulf running like a water separating two subcontinents in a Zen yoga is called in the Zenoga no man's land. Concentration of mind in a true sense of the word begins on the other side of no man's land. That is, in subsection B of section 2 and onwards. Spirituality disciplines means, according to Zen Yoga, the voluntary yet purposeful development of section 1, subsection A of section 2, and needed no longer be counted as its functional as exclusively of a physiological nature. To that stage when we are capable of crossing over no man's land to subtle subsection B of section 2, and thus to the higher section. The stage is known in Zen Yoga as the critical certain stage, CC, CCS for short. Our task in Zen Yoga is to reach the critical certain stage. For thereon spiritual progress in automatic and effortless, quite free to do's and don'ts. Thus, we leave aside the higher section for the time being and confine ourselves to the lower section, which is in fact means section 1 or the anatomical brain. All all the four sections of mind are coordinated as one integral whole by mass means of psychic quarter masters in the key position. They are known in Zen Yoga they are known in Zen Yoga as centers. There are seven centers distributed over the four sections of the mind. The first four of these seven are situated in section 1, the fifth in section 2, including both subsections, the sixth in the section 3, and the fourth and seventh in the section 4. To make it more characteristic, Zen Yoga calls the seventh center the senior managing director. If you imagine every positive sign lower section, collectively speaking, a double plus higher section. So, introduction. A person to be joint stock company complete in itself the six centers, a junior managing director, the fifth center general managing director, and fourth section in section 1 is departmental heads or divisional directions. More seriously, the seven centers are integrity center, emotivity center, Sensio-City Center, Mobility Center. These four sections lies in section. These four centers lie in section number 1. All four of them: center I, integrity; E, emotivity; S, sensio-city; and M, mobility, and institutional center in section 2, para mental center in section 3, and transcendental center in section 4. We will here describe in short at least the first four centers before passing on. Okay, now Center 1 means integrity through intellectual introspection, for short integrity. Thus, center means rational reflection consciously and conscientiously done. Its aim is knowledge through a balanced mind as well as decision arising therefrom. These centers is known in Sanskrit as iha, or the will to know, meaning the conscious and programmed analysis undertaken with a view to acquire exact or integer knowledge of a thing, problem, or a situation solely or predominantly by means of unbiased reasoning. This center governs all which in Zen Yoga Vedanta falls under the healing of Sattva. The the first center is that hypothetically spot in the brain which consciously commands, reasons, and guides our thinking. Now, center E, evocative or emotion, for short emotivity. Thus e-centers means the focus on the point to which an emotion keeps all attention riveted, that is the ability or propensity of emotions to corner or divert attention to themselves. It is that hypothetically spot in the brain which arouses all the spontaneous and even unnoticed or semi-conscious reaction activity out of feeling. The domain of various emotions and passion, including irrational beliefs, passionately held attachments, and aversions, all forms of diversions and even contradictory feelings, fancies, whims, tendencies, subconscious inclinations, all decisions not carefully debated as to pro and contra in a balanced way where uh, beforehand all one of the poor of the moment decisions later integrated, and one knew that in all the probabilities they would be later on regretted. All journal unexplained, even unexplained likes and dislikes. This center govern all, which in Yoga Vedanta falls under the healing of Rajas. The activity begins or continued on the initiative of one of or more emotions. This center we call it the known as Sanskriti Ikhana. The focus emotion tend to focus all attention on themselves. S. S center senso vitality, for short sensosity. Sensosity. Center S center means sensitivities mean that spots in the brain which command reflexes, reflect movement, subconscious impulse act, also called motor movement or reaction arising from a concealed memory of a man evolutionary past, atavistic perversitics, and or reflexes conditions therefore. These reasons favor decision made not only against one better judgment but also against one own natural likes and dislikes. Decisions forced upon me, drive to it, drive born out of an insatiable thirst, drug, sex, etc., or an seemingly irresistible impulse. I could not help it. I just had to do. I must decision made by the blood as it were. D.H. Lawrence thinking with the one's blood. Adolf Huxley explanation of the successful orator as one of who speaks or appeals to the stomach thinking of his listeners. All uncontrollable urges, genuinely insatiable longings, as if some strange force thrusted its decision on one using him merely as an instrument of craving. This center governs all which in Yoga Vedanta falls under the heading of tamas, dullness of wit, brute stupidity, intelligence made inert through inertia, inactivity of reasoning. In Sanskrit, the word sat means begins, yet also vitality as a characteristics of being, vitality as the potential energy of being, vitality as sleep, are hidden in every being. Thus, in every human being, there are untold reservoir of vitality, untapped. The S center depicted vitality divorced from reason and divide of the feeling. M center M center means mobility of muscular and assorted movements for the mobile, execution of decision for short mobility. Thus, M center means that spot in the brain which combines the aforementioned thoughts, feelings, and reflexes. Now, to from a specific decision, it is like a mathematician. It counts or reads the varying intensities in the first three centers, either totaling up the sum of rotation units of vibrations in the intensities if they be all one kind, that is all plus or all minus, or striking a balance. It favors the side center or pair of centers having the higher scores of vibrations, be it plus or minus. It always favors the winning side, and that too in the most unique way. In transforms It transforms the vibration of a losing side into those of the majority holders minus into plus or vice versa, and then adds up even that to the majority of the total figure. It has also a kind of casting vote in case of tie. Such casting vote is always thrown in a scale of the plus vibrations, for the M center has no minus vibrations of its own, through it does possess a small force of plus vibration to tie up the balance. The M is known as Sanskrita as Manas, or the Latin mens, which literally means mind. The M center carries out interdepartmental memories of in the mind. It signifies mobility as a cardinal characteristics of mental operations. Now, before we can proceed further to the higher section, we must have practiced exercise for reaching the critical certain stage. But no practical measures are of any useless use unless we come to term with the cardinal problems of the spiritual life of, or for the matter any kind of serious or purposeful living, which is how to keep up our interest in and enthusiasm for the quest in spite of countless difficulties and reverses. Moreover, let's not forget that the severest trial come in the form of monotonous routine of everyday life, the apathy called gradual lactic, gradual lactic, which drains away our strength and enthusiasm. Like for the bulk of our earthly existence is except in very unusual cases made up of terrifying events and incidents. Even a periminister, periminister or a Hemingway hero needs must spend a considerable portion of the day dressing, undressing, brushing his teeth, drinking out glasses. Periminister introduction or bottle Hemingway hero and other less mentionable course of a daily living. A great meaning extraordinary events occur but rarely in the life of an average person. To bring forth enthusiasm for great thing is almost unavoidable. But how about maintaining such enthusiasm is the midst of a daily regret of routine. The acid test of a beginner on the spiritual path lies in a sustaining interest for the quest, even in the mildest of the common details of life. To maintain equipoise in spite of ceaseless provocations caused by the terrifying irritants of everyday existence demands a resoluteness of which only a handful are capable. And yet, the vitality of the spiritual life is tested in the field of our ordinary activities, like, for instance, the patience or lack of it with which we wait for a bus. The seldom in the speeches of extraordinary achievements. Without enthusiasm, even the spiritual quest will appear tries some. But how to keep the fires of enthusiasm burning in the face of idiotic flies? More spiritual aspirants have fallen back to usual because of the failure to sustain enthusiasm for the quest than due to any other single cause. The indispensable quality of enthusiasm is known in Zen Yoga as Preeti, the element of genius, genuine joy with which we do a thing to takes to task of our dignity. We rise betimes and go to them with longings. Only an enthusiastic life is capable of creativity. When we live creatively, our actions are not stereotyped but revealed an individuality all their own. The preconditions of for enthusiasm is a condition for profound interest in any theme, things, or a person. Can you imagine enthusiasm without interest? The opposite of profound interest is not only indifference but also shallow interest, which may aptly be called sensationalism. Genuine enthusiasm is rooted in profound interest, an interest which borders on commitment and so drawn sustenance for the very depths. A person who is full of such commitment to the quest is too enthusiastic to experience dullness even in the routine, or mm, to be directed by trifles how frequent or obstacles however great. The reason why most of the people do not possess such un- undiminishing enthusiasm for the quest or for anything else except perhaps the fondling of their grandchildren, is that modern man lives his life at a rather superficial level. This cannot be help in modern techno civilization because the top heavy emphasizes put on speed and efficiency. We are all in a terrifying hurry to go from where we are to where we are or no better. Such a fast or superficial life needs a constant supply of sensation to keep it going. Without kicks or titillations, the danger of depression arises from degree cannot be avoided. The modern world may be described as one keen on being high by constant kicks of some kind of another. Alcohol is a kick, sex is a kick, sleeping pills are kicks, murders, mysteries are a kick. Even the guru things can become a kick. Now, true spirituality is essentially a matter of deep experience and not of kicks. So long as we allow our mind to function at superficial level, we can gather no deep experience. Without deep experience, we get sex origins instead of love, parties instead of friendship, dogma instead of devotion, respectability instead of ethics, theology instead of religion, a mind content to dissect a dogma but incapable of comprehending the indwelling spirit. Depth of experience along is the yardstick of spirituality, that too, irrespective of the sphere of activity. One can be interested spiritual while working in the stock exchanger or in a brothel, or one may be anything but spiritual in the church or in a ashram. There is no penumbra of approbations around any activity you generalize, and that is why the most men are dissatisfied with the objective condition of their life. For a superficial led life is always compelling about its destiny, just as a bad workman quarrels with his tools. The discontent of this malcontent is chronic because of the perpetual sense of injustice with which they color all incidents instead of counting their blessings. Such a person carries on a fear against what he calls his fate. How actually we feel the thwarted by the circumstances in which we have been placed when we ignore the spiritual potentials beneath. Only the surface of the oceans is whipped the waves by the winds of karma. Its depths are unstarred. Let us gladly accept all that is devoted by fortune instead of gambling with her and losing all in his trying to win all her wheel turns. If we seek the depths, deep experience, we will have chained the wheel of chance and are free from her rotations. Triumphant living does not mean making no mistake, but making only own mistake conditioned by own by our own and not adapted principle. The spiritual quest has in our times uh, been supplanted by the quest of the security, and yet man remains flattered to the evenest, evenest only only an immature soul strives for security by attempting to modify the external condition of life. It's it is like attempting to be secure in a gale to sea by trapping to control the winds. The mind is shallow, sees only the numbed mudness, which is being transitory, is unreal and so powerless. It is insecure, either the very opposite of what it seeks. The eye of the initiated sees the super the Amundsen mind feels restricted by its external environment, be it ideas, person, or surrounding. All ideology pertaining to utilitarianism, techno, social utopias is so much happy to talk bhoga bhumi or enjoymentism instead of janna bhumi or wisdom training. It is exactly when our contact with life is shallow and superficial that we find the real or imaginary discords in our external environment. We would then fail to cure all the social ills, be it by bullet revolutions or ballot politicary, rather than beings with the real spirit working, which consists of improving ourselves. Superficial life consisting in selecting out of the totality of data, researching us for the external world, and inchoated group with which attention oscillates. Thus, the more our inner life has dried up, the more do difficulties in the external world loom in some insurmountable. When we all exhausted within, we seek solace from without. What slows down our enthusiasm for the spiritual life is a lack of profound interest of the quest. A merge change in our fortune would not have for certain renew our interest. The problem remains how to enter the very depth of our being in itself. We can and should work at improving our external circumstances, yet we should make the end also the means, in that we all look upon the situation in which life places us not as so many obstacles but as so many fields of expression for our spiritual urge. The chances environment will follow the enfolding of profound interest. A mind devoid of profound interest will not even notice the advantage an improved environment bring him. He carries his bad habits into the new environment and poisons it to a boat. He carries ruins and to ruins, carriers ruins to ruins. On the other hand, the external obstacles are swept away under the impact of genuine enthusiasm resulting from the profound interest. What is the subjectively felt as a profound interest, finding its expression in the objective world as a genuine enthusiasm. By profound interest, we mean an interest so deep as to cease from being interest for in our in or about a specific thing, or and becomes an interest in its unrelated to any specific object. It is this state of interest in itself which brings about in genuine enthusiasm. Interest in a specific object excludes that open-mindedness essential to heighten sensitivity, high heightened sensitivity and enthusiasm to go together. Without heightening sensitivity and enthusiasm, even a great pleasure, be they earthly or heavily would subjectively be experienced as dull. No welfare state, no earthly utopia, no heavenly paradise can pour blessing into a mind having no space receive them. As in is the case with a shallow mind, ocean of Hochschimer, a throat like that of a Opchinkans cannot make a Shoeblack happy. Shoeblack happy. If one on the other hand we can expand our sensitivity, receptivity, then our life will undergo moment of deep experience, even a everyday drudgery. Even routine and terrifies become significant when seen in this light. Now the center of Zen Yoga, all imaginary points in the sectional mind, should not be confused with the chakras of Kundalini Yoga. To begin with, wrong all all explanation which arrested these chakras are situated inside the spinal aperture. Only the first chakra, situated at the base of the spinal column, may properly be said to be located inside the spinal aperture. Already, the second chakra, slightly higher up the spine, is to be located outside or behind the gross body, and so on till a kind of half moon concave to the back of the gross body joins with its tips to the spinal base, with a point hovering above and almost touching the summit of the head. The chakra, when developed, cause reciprocal points to arise in front of the body equidistant to their own deviation from meridian. The corresponding half moon now projected in front of the body constitute, including the horizontal axis joining the chakras behind the gross body, what is called the causal body, considered still more subtle than the half moon line of chakra behind which collectively forms the subtle body. The center in Zen Yoga have title to do with all this. At this point, we may anticipate an important term, or rather twin of a term. The word vasa, vasanas, 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 when we used in the plural and with a small v, means predispositions, including inclinations and disinclinations of all kinds of psychic and otherwise. The same word vasana, which when used in the singular and with a capital V, means the general mental tendency, or rather constitution, analog to constitutional law, arising from the above mentioned predisposition. The mental resolution, contrary or to one own's vasana, will meet with pitfall, just as a statue state statute against the constitution is wide. The vasana consists of vasanas, yet is a something above and beyond the total of its added units. For essential elements of the past, including prenatal past, persisting not so much in memory as in being, in the moment of death, the single vasanas regroups to crystallize according to said patterns. These patterns will then serve as prototype of the vasanas of the next incarnation. The principle according to which this regrouping take place, I have explained in details in many books. Die Verborgen Venichet. Only by a qualitative transformation of the vasanas to we create in ourselves a capacity for deeply felt experience so necessary to profound interest. The vasanas resembles the cells of the physical body. There is a constant process of removal and renewable. The ejected vasanas, like eliminated cells, are replaced by new ones. What stuff has these new cells created? In the main, out of the nutrition, food and drink we take, and what stuff we are replacing vasana formed out of the resembling the mental qualities and the thought accompanying each and every act of taking nutrition. We are we if we are fully of-hearted while eating with create a undue supply of vasanas of the hate variety. If full of anger of the angers variety, and so on. Thus Zen yoga gives paramount importance to how you think and feel while eating and drinking. The psychic tempest. The psychic tempest has a therapeutic value. It casts off all dead things, and so the burden of the past is swept away. This is what Shakespeare really meant by using the word temp, uh, temp, tempest as the title of this most occult play. Without a tempest of our mind would remain placid, and so cannot be deeply stripped by profound interest. Even the German word Beben, as also in Erd Beben, has originally his meaning of sea quack storm, derived from the Indo-European vibhar, meaning one who is inwardly stripped. The sage. Mm. Such a psychological tempest is no honeymoon. One is torn by the temptation to resist the storms, out of fear, being swept away together, and a wish to surrender. These contradictory desires create much confusion. Indeed, confusion is a con- concomitant of the gale, and whenever decision one makes at such a moment makes confusion worse founded in the psychic upheaval. One must find a jury anchor. Anything much will be help us to stay out. If we offer no resistance, the tempest will get a chance to work itself out, the result being a transformative cleansing of the vasanas. A new mental attitude will open out of the storm's purged psychic needles to say a new vasanas with its new all-round attitude to life is always accompanied by the torrents of the enthusiasm, because profound interest has been awakened. Dare to be brave innovative tempest to put some peep into our life. Forget security. It is a well-tense chowing of a mouse. Even a crowd will live for 100 years by eating the proffered grains. Be not like dumb driven cattle. Be a warrior on life battlefield. All life is a challenge. How do you accept to find security when all life is a challenge? If all life is a challenge, then unless you are alert and vigilant, all you will get yourself in a false security, like the security of the saving bank account during the galloping inflation. If you are not vigilant, then either you are not aware of the life challenges or even know them. You are so stuck in the mud to as have become totally stagnant. Now how can there be profound interest for anything except kicks? Is existence totally stagnant, fixed like a plant in its own perpetual spot to draw nutrition, propagates and grow? To weather a tempest is an undertaking involving considerable courage, yet that condition of inward solitarians when you are facing the full impact of a psychological storm brings with it psychic renewal of a high order. In that kind of cruelty of the tempest obstacle of our previous environmental are eliminated as dead leaves and branches are shedded by a tree during a storm. The past is blotted out, leaving no complexes behind. Behold, the post tempest future fraught with untold spiritual possibilities. Evolution has, for continuity of its operation, the principle of gradualness. Indeed, according to Kant, who coined the term and not as many purpose of Darwin, it is called evolution for that very reasons, because any change divorced from the gradualness is to be termed revolution. That is industrial revolution. Yet spiritual life is entirely a new dimension of being. So it is not the principle of gradualness, nor for that matters revolution, but that is the instantness which operates here. The instantness becomes possible in the critical certain stage for CC for short. The critical certain stage provide the soil in which the spiritual plants may be taken growth. In the critical certain stage, the mind is poised, POISED, at the point of psychological transition, transient from section 1 to the higher transaction. At this point of transaction, spiritual transformation ceases to be evolutionary and becomes revolutionary. The mastic events of these sudden changes being instant, hence our term instantness. Thus, the spiritual path cannot be redated until it is discovered. Attempts to tread the spiritual path before having found it give rise to untold needle difficulties. The result then in weariness, dejection, and frustration, because that element of inner joy called priti in Zen yoga is missing. The attempt to imitate a particular pattern of living taught in spiritual books is not a discovery of the path, but a merely attempt to mold and confines life to fit into that pattern. The joyfulness imitations may be called uncreative discipline, in contrast to the priti. Through the creative discipline of Zen Yoga, without spontaneity and creativity, the hidden bound system of living according to the some system is bound to be joyless, because it is only in the mode of functional well-being. That feeling you get upon discovering something, or even upon discovering your own progress on the way of the to the uh, discovery, or for the matters that feeling of making progress in or at anything, that is creative joy in the day and day unfoldment of our own life. Because apple apparent. If every man were a thinker, there would be as many spiritual paths as there are individuals. Yet for each specific individual, there is but one path. He may rightly tried only that path when which he has discovered for himself in this life, and which at the same time is suited to his vasanas. On such a path, everything becomes natural and spontaneous for him, while on the other path, he feels constrained to become what he feels he is not. Discovery of the path certifies its existence. Discovery implies new data or a new relationship between the already known facts. Whenever the discovery is a psychological moment, as in the discovery of love, faith, or the spiritual path, it is has dynamic dimension to it. The discovery such psychological entities means also discovering at the same time that the discovered moments is now no longer where it was. For all life its moment. The awful daring of the moment surrender, which a lifetime of prudence cannot retract, as our psychological constitutions in changing ceaseless from thought to thought, mood to mood, path almost must be rediscovered every day in changing psychological settings. The once found path trend to get concealed in a changing psychological environment and must be on of get it anew. The prison ignored of Zen Yoga Zenoga may think this constant rediscovering the path as monotonous and trying an exercise and finding the LCM and GCM of arithmetic fraction which plagues his school life memories. Psycho-spiritual discoveries, however, exclude monotony, for the first kind of discovery has always a thrilling about it. Even the repeated discovery of the spiritual path is an investigatory experience accompanied by thrills. Thrills better than any provided by kicks. The thrills lies in finding out where the path could be hiding in every new psychological situation with which life consistently comforts us. Can playing the detective be dull? We say playing because spiritual life is a play, not greed. Natizia explains spiritual life as a beast of beast of burden grind, becoming a child at a play. The thrill of rediscovering the path in ceaselessly changing psychological situation, providing the elements of zest, preeti, which differentiate a life of spiritual adventure. Lao Tzu, from a life of ethical inflexibility. Convex ethical drill signifies movement according to the set of terms of an establishment static code. The thou shallest and thou shallest not. Generalization. Spiritual adventure signifies movement according to the dynamic particularities of each specific situation. The principle of the ethics are based on like the vice, greedy, envy, hate, etc. It denounces on the particular psychological state irrespective of the individual situation. Thus, for example, ethics overlooks the cruelty arising from refusing to be cruel to a masochist. Do the virtues and vices of ethics have an existence apart from an individual having them? A vice like greed, for instance, can mean in practice only somehow someone having or some showing that property, and that psychological state of greed will different not only for individual to individual but also for stimulation to stimulation. So that is the end of it, but a psychological incidents or even whose content is depicted as greed, usually for want of a better name or facilitated generalization. In Germany, this is made worse by using objective to qualify verses when they appear in incidents of which one approves. Thus, anger comes to be labeled positive anger, generators zorm enthusiasm. In the same way, one could justify entertainment as a positive escapism. The psychological content of a uh, vice vice like anger, greed, or lust does not lend itself to generalization, for every incident in which they occur will have an individual of its own. G.K. Chesterton delighted in showing in his short stories how easily virtues and vices lose all meaning once disconnected from the peculiarities of the incidents in which they are occur. Each psychological incident have an individuality of its own, and own individuality changes according to the psychological setting of an incident. Here we have two variable factors, but the spiritual path in its is a constant. This constant ever again appear in the field dominated by the above mentioned two variable factors. First, our changing personality in a life full of changing incidents. One of the 16 laws of spiritual mathematics says that where of three given things to vary in terms of each other, and of third which remain constants, the meaning the one remaining constant will lie on the dialogues of the two variations. Thus, the path is always to be found no matter what is the situation. The path never get lost. We lost when we do not find the path. Uh, for there is a no getting lost apart from the definite destination. Thus, the path has to be uncovered anew in each changing situation. This is the kind of discovery is a dynamically constant process, giving day-to-day existence the thrilling that expels boredom. The discovery of the path is a journey to the critical certain stage. After the critical certain stage comes initiation. The training of the spiritual path after initiation is a journey not only but also with God. For after initiation you walk the path not alone but with the master himself, Mahavatara. The discovery of the path means in the long run the discovery of the master's divinity. Politin describes the soul journey to divinity as the fight of the alone to alone. It is the only when we are alone that we becomes one with the path we tread. In order to reach the light of divinity which is alone, we must begin our search in the condition of aloneness. It is only when we search early, earnestly that our asking for wisdom acquires a depth in distinguishing such asking for inquantitative inquisitive curiosity. Yet depth of any kind is difficult when the mind is distracted by drifts. Yet our psychic is also alone in another sense of world. We can see only when the wavelength of the light are bent between 0.0008 and 0.00004 centimeter. All else is invisible to the naked eye. We can hear only at vibration occur between 230 to 20,000 per second. All else is inaudible to us. When we compare such uh, paltry figures with the range of the electromagnetic vibration exist around us, radio waves of the wavelength of 20 kilometer down to cosmic radiation of 0.000000004 millimeter, it is evident that we are very much alone or blind and deaf to a wide range of the events, for a sensitive only to a very limited field of vibration. By proper preparations through Zen Yoga, our range of perception can be increased well beyond the average. Enlightenment comes only when we are alone. Yet man fears to be alone, and being alone is a state he wishes to escape from. So he is always on the look out of the someone or something. If modern man cannot find anything at hand to occupy his hand, he digs out some subjects through sheer curiosity, so that his hand needed not be alone with itself. That is driving a car without a real destination, so that the mind be occupied with the attention paid to driving. This is called relaxation. Aloneness is opportunity opposition to this kind of pseudo relaxation. is the state in which the mind has nothing to hold on. Our experience in life are superficial because we are so seldom alone. Our receptivity to experience of the spirituality thus becomes poor in depth. No wonder if our spiritual radiations becomes even poorer. Spirituality once it takes root in a plant of rapid growth. This will I do because the woeful cry of life and fall flesh living cometh up into my ears, and my soul is full of pity for the seekers of the world, I which I will heal. I if healing may be found by uttermost renouncing and great strife, light of Asia. Uh, the purpose of this book is to provide an opportunity to understanding the purpose of life, to work and progress within the life, which list living a regular normal existence. God, the God exclusively word, the most exploited word, the most misunderstood word. If God be could be he, is she be such he that he requires the most difficult and strange practicing, along with special condition in which he can be found by the every few, then he is not the God of our age. As you mature, certain vital question inevitably comes into mind. Hmm. What is the purpose of life and birth? Can the simple man in the street even know the answer, or it is beyond the understanding and the best left to the few? Question number 3 is free will given to a man, or is everything predestinated, marked and drawn to the least delay for an eternity to come? Life would indeed lose some of its charm if there were so, and there would then be no hope for honest men for sincerely wish to do something worthwhile with their lives. There is some power behind creation by the whatever name we know it is possible to know and understand its laws, or have we accept them blindly as being finite. We cannot fathom the infinity. Is there is a golden middle road on the either extreme indulgence or nor of absolute denial? We must man renounces knowledge and progresses to find the answer, or must one renounces everything worldly and become a hermit? For early childhood, these are similar questions opposed me. One's passionate note of interrogations and unappeased hunger of enlightenment on the basis of problems of life. I experimented with many different ways, the pleasant and the unpleasant, the easy and the difficult, the strange and the commonplace. I tortured myself in a way. I kept my mind open and I gave every theory a fair chance. I opened my heart to all the religions that I may gather the good in them all. I searched my books but was often disappointed. I searched for schools, for gurus, but was disappointed. Not that I did not find them. The God guided me through one of his advanced sons. The name of his teaching was Zen Yoga. Under his guidance, I slowly progressed under his guidance. This book is written. If what is written contains wisdom, then God be praised that my mind could finally grasp, that my teacher could explain. If the reader finds anything inconsistent, know that I am have not been able to grasp what was explained, or must have added something inadequate of my own. If this book serve is if this book introduction any purpose, I shall feel happy, and the struggle of over 30 year have found solace in a few. This is the yoga without uh, glamour. What do you will be strictly between you and your God, and no man shall know of it. In this book you will find the simple practice in this book you will find simple practice thoughts which have been tried and successfully put to the test. You too can, if you so desire, put them into practice and succeeded. Above all, there does not exist in this life nor in all creation something for nothing. You will have to pay a price. We have all heard the story of Ramakrishnan, who simply by a touching of his hand made Vivekanand see gods. None is prepared to tell us how much Vivekanand had worked and progressed before this event to fit himself for the divine touch of the master. This book dedicated to the greatest soul who guided me. I so unworthy. If we can only be as he was, certainly God could be wonderful. He was instrumental in inspiring me in a deep and unshakable love for the divine. The journey of the 1,000 miles begins with the first step. Take the first step today, and God will be with you. We have come from somewhere, and we are going to somewhere. Surely the great architect of the universe could hardly have built a stairway that leads to nowhere. The guarantee of the arrival is in practice. The guarantee of arrival is in practice.